Thank you, everybody. I'd like to call to order the meeting, and if I could have the clerk please call the roll.
Imperial Beach representative here. National City representative
Here.
Chula Vista representative.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you very much. I'd now like to, if people could stand and do the pledge of allegiance. And if Mayor Gary could lead us in the pledge of allegiance.
First, place your hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, are there any items to be withdrawn or added to this agenda?
There's not.
And are there any public comments that are not on the agenda for this meeting?
There are none.
Okay, great. We're going to go ahead then and go to the consent calendar. Do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
So moved.
Second, Mr. Chair.
We have an emotion and a second. Madam Clerk, are there any members who would like to speak on item 1, the consent calendar?
There are none.
Okay, vote.
Director Aguirre, how do you vote? Yes. Director Yamani, how do you vote?
Yes.
Chair McCann, how do you vote?
Aye.
Motion carries with all directors voting yes.
Thank you. Now we will move to the meeting agenda. Review of the treasurer's report for the period ending March 31st, 2024. Dr. Washington, I will give you the floor.
Thank you, Chair McCann, and to Directors Aguirre and Mamani. I'm presenting item number 2 under the Finance and Risk Management Committee meeting, the Treasurer's Report for the period ending March 31st, 2024. We ended the year-to-date period in the net position of $188.2 million after reporting net revenue of $998.8 million after expenses of $810 million. This period, our net operating revenue came in slightly under our budget that was amended and approved by the board back in February. However, that was offset somewhat with reduction in the overall operating expenses for the period. So in the table in this slide over to the upper right, you see that numerically where we landed as we compare our budget to our actual results through the through 9 months of fiscal year 2024, and then displayed graphically in the bar chart below. Next slide, please. So for the period, in terms of reserves, our net position contributed $188 million to our reserves. Our target, however, was $223 million. So we're slightly under budget there. But then looking at the total reserves for the period, we had a total liquidity of $500 million after contributing $389 million cumulatively in cash based on unrestricted cash, and then what we had access to on our revolving line of credit. We had no outstanding debt for the period, and with respect to our reserve goal, we landed 74% of that goal for fiscal year 24. Next slide, please. And so this chart is comparative analysis over reserve build over a period of time. So we end year to date with total liquidity on hand to cover 172 days of operation, with cash, unrestricted cash covering 133 days of that total liquidity on hand. Next slide. So this slide is a slide we continue to track from a risk perspective, just pointing to our participation rates overall through our 7 jurisdictions, still maintaining a participation rate of just over 95%, which really kind of puts us sort of at the top with respect to other CCs. Next slide. That'll conclude my presentation, Mr. Chair, of the Treasurer's Report for the period ending March 31st, 2024. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Treasurer and Mr. CFO, Dr. Washington. Do we have any questions from the public?
There are
Madam
no
Clerk?
public comment.
No public comments? Do we have any questions from the dais? No, this is a receive and file, so we appreciate the report, and so then we will move to the second item, the presentation and discussion of the fiscal year 2024-25 operating budget. And you're on again, Dr. Washington.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Next slide, please. I'd like to acknowledge the finance team for all the work that we're doing along with several other stakeholders within our organization that contribute to our budget development process. So this is a presentation of where we are and just an update to this committee with regard to our budget development process. We're not quite there yet with a complete, fully baked draft of our budget that we're proposing for fiscal year 2025, but just wanted to provide this update. So really high level for this budget cycle, we are anticipating the addition of 24 staff members that will bring our staff count to 80 staff members. We continue our efforts in terms of outreach and educating the public of San Diego Community Power and how we are positioning ourselves to give back to community. As part of this budget cycle, we're also looking at our professional services agreement and rescoping those. We love to build out our team to continue to contribute to meeting our mission and our vision. Next slide. So this slide should be a familiar slide to this committee. It really lays out the board adopted budget development schedule starting in February with the items that we take in terms of developing our budget through March, April, which brings us to where we are this month at this meeting. And that's a presentation of a preliminary draft of the budget for 2025. The next presentation will be at our upcoming board meeting, which this presentation will be provided to the board for discussion, ultimately rolling to adoption of a budget at our June budget meeting, and then ratification of and approval of the budget in the June meeting or implementation July 1st of fiscal year 2020. Next slide, please. This is just a reminder, during our budget development process, we hold true to the principles that guide our overall financial stability and responsibility. And that's to make sure that we have a budget that's responsible, that we maintain sufficient funds to contribute to the ongoing operations of San Diego Community Power, and then respond fiscally to unexpected economic conditions, provide really a transparent and an easily digestible, said differently, and easy to understand budget, albeit internally, we go through a pretty rigorous process to get to that point to make sure that we're being responsible. And then the framework that aligns with public agency guidelines and best practices. We want to make sure that our stakeholders are fully aware of our budget and overlay that with the sustainable energy needs, then keeping our internal executive team as well as our board informed of the ongoing fiscal condition of San Diego, and then making sure that we are transparent and that we prioritize our communities and people. Next slide, please. So at a really high level, this is a summary of our budget compared to our amended budget for fiscal year 2024, overlaid with a draft of fiscal year 2025. As I've mentioned, we are still working to really dial in the budget. So there are There'll likely be some incremental changes to these numbers. Overall, we do expect to land in a positive net position for fiscal year 2025. But as we continue to build out our assumptions and fine tune our energy costs as well as energy costs, those will get inserted into the budget as we approach the final draft toward the end of the budget development cycle. Next slide, please. So as part of the budget, we also take a look at our capital investment plan. As a reminder, that plan essentially serves as a 5-year document that we are able to track programmatic spending on programs as well as non-recurring project costs. This document also provides some visibility to state and federal funding sources that we might be able to lean into to fund some of our programs. Some key projects or key programs that I just wanted to highlight here is one that we are launching, the solar battery storage program. And then our programs team has made a presentation to the board with regard to the regional energy network, which are 2 programs that we're actually moving forward with in addition to several others. Next slide, please. So this slide is essentially a look back in terms of our reserve build over time, and then looking forward to fiscal year 2025, what from a preliminary draft perspective, what we're looking to contribute to our reserve build for fiscal year 2025. Again, just caveating the fact that we're still working to fine tune the budget. So this total amount may change when we get closer to the draft budget that we'll be rolling forward to the board ultimately for recommendation and approval. Next slide. So taking just one level look down categorically at our budget, you can see where we are. The draft budget compares to our amended budget, and in the specific line items with regard to overall cost of energy, professional services, personnel, marketing and outreach, general administrative expenses, as well as some program dollars that are included. Next slide. So with respect to personnel, we routinely will take a look comparatively with other CCAs where they fall with regard to total staffing. So we are pretty much in line with the other CCAs for the most part. And this slide is just a comparative analysis of where we are, what we are proposing in our budget for this fiscal cycle and how we compare to some of the other CCAs. Next slide. This slide is also a comparative analysis of where we land with regard to customer counts, the cost of energy, non-energy costs, and net ratepayer revenues. So you can see most similar to San Diego Community Power is Clean Power Alliance, as well as some of the other CCAs in the region. So we'd like to just take a look at this comparative analysis to see where we fall within other CCAs that are similar to San Diego. Next slide, please. And that concludes my presentation and discussion of the budget for fiscal year 2025. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Dr. Washington. Madam Clerk, are there any public speakers?
There is no public.
Okay. And do we have any questions or comments on the dais?
You go ahead, Mayor. Mr. Chair, I don't have any document for the agenda item number 3. Even in the website, there's none, but it's in our agenda. So I didn't see a paperwork in my binder, and there's nothing on the online. So I don't know if they missed that but I have questions with regards to the presentation. Since I don't have a paperwork, I don't know what's our general fund and what's our CIP. And I wanted to see a CIP that has a dashboard of where are we right now in our CIP projects? How are we funding it? And where are we getting it? I wanted to see that draft or that spreadsheet, so then at least I have a better understanding of how we are. I cannot even articulate, yes, I know what our proposed budget is, but I would like to be able to articulate what's our general fund and what's our CIP fund.
Thank you for that question, Madam Vice Mayor. I'm happy to respond to that. So we did not provide a staff report for this particular item because, as I mentioned in my opening remarks, we are still working diligently to really fine tune our budget, to really get closer, looking at the revenue, the energy cost, and the operating costs for the most part, which are pretty much dialed in at this point. So when we come back with the draft budget that we'll present at the next Finance Risk Management Committee and ultimately to the board, we'll attach a staff report. We're still fine tuning some of the assumptions that will go into the budget and the budget development. I will point out that this year's budget is a bit, significantly more robust than last year. Last year's budget and previous budget development cycles. So we look forward to drafting that report and getting more into some of the high level details at the next committee meeting.
Yeah, it would be nice to see those economic impact with the changes of personnel and stuff like that. So that would be good to see. As a finance, we have the responsibility to be able to articulate to the board, if they have questions and as well as our ratepayers. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for the question.
Yeah.
Great. Mayor Gary?
Yes, thank you. I have a question relating to the chart where we had the historical rate. I don't recall what number that was. It was the column chart. There we go. The historical versus the proposed. That difference, is that because of the energy costs that we had projected to be lower, or can you just elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, I'm happy to. Thank you for the question. So the draft budget that's before you now, the preliminary draft budget, is reflective of the rate setting action that the board took back in February, and that's in some part could attribute it to that. And then in addition to that, just some of the changes in the energy market based on what we have hedged and our unhedged positions in forward curve prices.
A bit of everything.
It's a little bit, it's sort of a lot of variables going into that. Thank you for the question.
Sure. My second question, so regarding staffing, you gave a pretty good comparison of what some of the other CCAs have, and I can tell we're somewhat in the middle. But I just like to understand a little bit more. Is 80 our cap? I mean, I support us growing as our needs grow, right? But I also want to be mindful that, we just don't continue to grow for the sake of growing. So.
Yes, no, that's a really, really good question, Director Gidding. Thanks again for asking it. So we too take a really close look at our staffing and really want to make sure that we're staffing appropriately. And as San Diego Community Power has grown over the fiscal cycles, adding additional personnel to make sure that we have subject matter experts in areas where we probably didn't have prior, that we've identified as a need. Even in light of that, we still take a real hard look at the number of staff members we're adding to our staff and making sure that those adds to staff are appropriate and support the idea of us delivering on our mission and our vision. So really thoughtful in that aspect of it. Thanks again.
Understood. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you very much. And this is just a presentation item. So we will be taking no action. So we will now move to item number 4. And this is the recommendation approval for the Power 100 Green E certified service. And we have a great presentation.
So, good afternoon, Chair McGann. It is my distinct honor and pleasure to be presenting this item to you this afternoon. Along with me is Byron Bosberg, our Managing Director of Power Services. My name is Lucas Uto. I'm the Senior Director of Data Analytics and Customer Operations. So what this item, in today's presentation, I'll just give you a brief overview of what this item entails, why we need it, and then just high-level details. High-level details of
Better, thank you.
just high-level details of the product that we're contemplating taking to the board. Next slide, please. So as a way of background, currently we do offer two service offerings today, Power On and Power 100. Power On is around 54.2% renewable relative to SDG&E. And we also have a Power 100 product, which is 100% renewable, carbon free. However, through numerous efforts across multiple teams internally, we have been actively engaged with the bulk of our customers. And our customers have been telling us that they want a specific product that allows for them to meet their LEED certification goals. And so this product that we're bringing to this distinguished committee today will allow SDCP to respond to customers' needs in a way that we haven't seen in our region before. Next slide, please. So what we're proposing as far as this product goes, and the name of it you will see in the subsequent slide, it essentially allows our customers in our region, predominantly the commercial and industrial customers, to meet their LEED certification and some of their SEC or Securities Exchange Commission disclosures. These customers have very distinct sustainability goals of making their buildings greener and more sustainable. And they do require a product that is greenly certified to allow them to realize some of the LEED points needed to get the requisite certification. And so through work across my team and Byron's team, who's here with me, over the last 2 years, we feel now is the right time to essentially embark on creating this very custom specific product to allow for customers in our region to meet their LEED certification goals. Next slide, please. So what does this new service offering entails? And we are proposing, or we will be proposing to the board, obviously following the recommendation by this committee today, to be effective as of July 1st of 2024. The name of this new service level will be called Power 100 Green Plus. The plus there just signifying that a little extra specific to the LEED certification initiatives of our some of our large C&I customers. It will be priced as a premium adder on top of our base product Power On of 2 cents per kilowatt hours. It will definitely be made available to a very niche customer group that has the need to get the LEED certification, which predominantly spans the commercial and industrial customer classes. We do expect, based on the preliminary work and engagement with some of our key stakeholders in the region, that initially 2% will subscribe to this product. We will definitely keep a cap of 5% that can be reviewed and deliberated by the board if, let's say, there is interest in expanding it. As we learn through the first uptake initials by some of this very specific customers. In terms of the financial impact to us, it should be, we're estimating around $3.2 million in annual revenues to SDCP. And again, the benefit to the customer is such that they can get the LEED rating that they require for their sustainability initiatives. And then for Byron here, we will be sourcing the resources for this specific product, primarily from our long-term contracts, particularly from Buren Mesa for wind, IPO Buron for solar, and Vikings Energy for solar. And that actually should wrap up our presentation, but gonna pass the baton over to Byron to explain on it.
Yeah, thanks, Lucas. Again, I'm honored to be up here. I really don't deserve any of this. Lucas and the team have done a whole lot of the work behind this. Again, my team's been involved to make sure we have the portfolio to support it. Want to give a huge shout out, thank you to Lucas and his team for being responsive to our community in this and doing all the legwork to create this new product and ensure we can be feasible and then viable. And I will say, just it's pretty exciting, to see this organization mature and develop and be able to offer these kind of opportunities, right? To really engage with the community, hear customers, hear their needs, and be able to meet with a product like this. And also, to have, you'll note these other projects that we intend to source this energy from. Those were long-term projects that we've contracted with over the last few years. They're coming online now, so we have more control to ensure that they'll be green certified, and we have visibility and stability in our long-term portfolio. So it really is kind of it's a combination of some things that have been in the works for a couple of years now, really seeing them come together to allow us to offer this premium product, but also with stability and certainty to customers. So again, really excited to be able to offer this. And again, big shout out to my team's done. Don't want to dismiss the work my team's done. There have been a few folks honestly involved as well, but a huge shout out to Lucas and his team for leading this. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Lucas, do you have any more?
No, Mr. Chair, that was actually the end of our presentation today. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Lucas. I really appreciate it. Madam Clerk, do we have any public comments?
There are no public comments.
Great. And do we have any questions or comments from the dais?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for all your work. It sounds like it's been a long time coming and it's in response to customer demand, it sounds, and we want to stay competitive, right, with some of the other companies that offer the same service. I just have a question regarding net revenue. So we're talking about 3.2 million in annual revenue. Obviously, there's going to be not just potential compliance and administrative costs associated with that, right? Which I imagine is going to be staff time and et cetera. So I guess the question is, out of those $3.2 million, how much are we actually going to spend, and what is the actual net revenue? And then secondly, you said you would cap it at 5%. If we're upside down at some point, will we be able to, not that would happen, but I just want to have a off ramp if the board should decide like this isn't really, we're not breaking even, like I don't think that would happen, but I just want to hear a little bit about that.
Yeah, thank you very much for the question. In terms of the revenues that we're projecting, those have already been, the expenditure side has already been factored in. And that would mean the administrative costs, not only from the staff perspective, but also we are required as a function of the green certification process to go through the process and pay for it. Those costs have already been factored in as well. And so what we're saying in terms of the 3.2 annual revenue, that is the net revenue expected as a function of offering this new product going forward. In terms of your comment around the capping mechanism, obviously, with this being a relatively new product in our region, we definitely want to have a runway where we can assess the subscription levels, the interest levels. I mean, we've definitely heard it from customers, but hearing it and customers actually subscribing are two different things. And essentially, we want to have a mechanism that will allow for us to reassess when we get to that 5% to say, hey, does this, if we rerun the analysis, does it make sense for us to continue offering this product at that premium, or do we need to calibrate the premium upwards or downwards, et cetera. So it's essentially a way to give us additional runway to allow for us to analyze the customer intake as well as the pricing and seeing whether or not it is feasible at that pricing or a recalibration is required.
That's great. Thank you so much. I appreciate that response.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In the background, it says commercial and industrial customers, and we are going to, the service will be taking effect July 1st of 2024. So this commercial industrial customers, I don't know how many we do have in the region. Were they informed? How did we reach out to them or, I mean, because commercial industrial, some of them are also having a hardship, right? And even if it's only 2 cents, that impacts their business. So if there is an outreach that happened, and my understanding is we are going to set this out effective July 1st, that means there's a buy-in. So it's a good thing that we have a good relationship with the ratepayers that we do have. And I'm sure that, the estimate that you're given is really, that's already net, you said, the 3.2 is really huge impact to our, to our organization. So thank you for the hard work and, working with those ratepayers that we do have because they're very important to our system. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you, Director Yamani. And Lucas, really, again, appreciate your work. Byron, I know you're very humble, but I know you had a big part in it too, and your staff did. So thank you for you and your staff. We need a motion, so I'll make the motion. And do I have a second?
Happy to second.
We have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, if you could please call for the vote.
There is no post. Even. Director Curie, how do you
Yes.
vote? Director Yamani, how do you vote?
Yes.
Chair McCann, how do you vote?
Aye.
Motion carries for the director.
Thank you very much. And Dr. Washington, do you have any public announcements or anything?
No, none at this time, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
And directors, do you have any, Mayor Geary? Perfect.
Thank you, Chair. So I think great minds think alike. I just wanted to say this on the record that I came in thinking potentially we could explore the possibility of moving the FRMC meetings to the South Bay, given that all 3 of us directors are located down there and maybe make it a little bit more balanced with our full board meeting. And Director Yamani was saying that you guys had commented about that last meeting, so I wanted to put that on the table and see if that's something that the committee would and staff would be amenable to.
I completely agree, and I know Director Yamani agrees. I can definitely make the city council offices dais at the city of Chula Vista available, and that would be right in the middle between National City and Imperial Beach. And then Dr. Washington, would that be a challenge for the staff or would that be an opportunity for us?
I'm totally open to being flexible with the location, especially given the content of our meetings. I think it would be something that staff would be amenable to for the most part.
Okay, and I don't want to be, I love this area and everything, but I'm very proud of our facility and we would have a really nice facility, but
Just want to
Madam
advise this is a
Attorney.
non-agenda item, but we'd be happy to bring it for consideration of the next meeting.
Yes, that's a good.
Okay. Okay, that sounds great.
Nice.
Thank you for bringing that up.
Thank you.
I think we do have consensus though.
Yes, but we can acknowledge.
Yeah.
Okay, with that, I'm going to go ahead then and adjourn the meeting. And just wanted to thank all the presenters and the finance department, and we will meet next time. Thank you.
The chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.